Horizon gents and welcome to CG Reaction, and this is Who's in Charge of Britain by the channel J Foreman. Now somebody told me to react to this video, and you know what, it was interesting to me because I always wonder who's in charge of Britain. I mean, really, first of all, I always thought Queen was just, obviously he was still a queen, but it was just for show and not much of power. But then I heard that she has good enough power, like she can declare wars on countries. And then I learned she's considered head of the state, after the god, the queen is the head of the state or something like that. And then I slowly realized, wait a minute, queen has a lot of power than people realize. In the entire world, people think the queen just has this, just basically for show power, not any real power. But she does have lots of power. But how much power does she have? And I don't know that in detail. So I'm like, I should react to a video like this. Then somebody said they would react to this video. I'm like, yeah, I'm going to react to it. It sounds a good topic. So, Britain's democracy, I think, is going to be mostly like India's democracy, since India used to be a Britain colony. So obviously, probably Indians took lots of inspiration from Britain's democracy, since Britain's democracy was what, in 1910s or something. So I think lots of things he's gonna say here is gonna make sense to me, since I know obviously my country's democracy, how it works. But what's going to be awesome to see is how much power does Queen have. In the end, I know that technically she might have power, but she's not going to use it, since people are going to be like, you know what, in the end this is democracy. If you do something too much, we're gonna overthrow you or something like that. But technically, how much power she has, it's going to be fun to see. Now remember people, if you like my reaction, don't forget to like and subscribe, so I know which type of video to react to more, which type of channel to react to more. And if you want me to react to any video, comment down. And yeah, let's watch this video.
Who's in charge of Britain? Well, it's the Prime Minister, isn't it? The one we voted for? Actually, no, he isn't. Not only is the Prime Minister not in charge of Britain, but we didn't even vote for him.
Yeah, Cameroon is just first of all, I don't know what you think of Cameroon. I think very less, since I don't know, what his policies are, how he was as a prime minister. But I know he's the reason why Brexit exists. He did the stupid decision of giving power to the people. I mean, look, obviously, in a sense, people has the power in democracy. But in the broader sense, people can't make all the decisions. That's why people choose certain people who are better than them making decisions like this. So you can't just say every decision I'm going to give power to the people, they're going to vote on it. They don't know what the topic is. They don't know the issue behind it. They don't know what issues we are going to face. That's what politicians' job is. So people trust politicians to make those choices for them, since they have other things to do too. Like some flowerists need to worry about flowers, I guess, rather than worrying about what are the policies, what's the backside of leaving European Union or whatever. So that idiot just give power to the people, like choose what to do, and people like, yeah, we see all this immigration issues, bombings have increased, so screw it, we want to leave European Union. But they don't realize what kind of issues that's going to cause in trade and economy. And afterwards, after the Brexit happened, people start to realize what the issue is. Majority of people of Britain is like, you know what, if we had known this, we wouldn't have chose to leave. Obviously, lots of people in comment are probably going to point out that there is a many issues and Brexit is the best thing. And I'm not denying the issues, all right? I'm not denying the immigration issues and all that. But in the end, your economy is going to get screwed because, let's just say the past 60, 70 years, whatever, European Union and, became main part of the trade in Europe. If you leave it, trading becomes more costly, and in the end it's going to cost you. It's pretty simple as that. I mean, can you find a workaround? Maybe in 2-3 decades you will find an equilibrium where you can profit properly like you used to, but right now it's going to tank, and people didn't know that. I mean, entire world's economy, every single countries, even if they are doing good, they are not doing that good. I mean, we are at the point of time where every single country is not doing that good, even if they are doing good. So it's not like everybody is just flowing in cash. So this is going to hurt. People are going to feel it, and people are going to regret it. So that idiot just gave power to the people rather than making choice himself, and that was the issue. You can, at least if he wanted a referendum like that, he should have educated people more before giving it.
Him. The Prime Minister is officially just an advisor to the real head honcho.
Me!
Yes, an old lady lucky enough to be descended from a family with the most violent army is our head of state. It's officially her country and her laws. Except you know that's not really how it...
Yeah, British Queen is German apparently. Top Gear made that pretty clear. James was obsessed with that.
It works. Our Parliament is a baffling thousands of years old institution that's been around for hundreds of years, and it's changed so much that the word officially means diddly squat. So how is the country actually run? What does the Prime Minister do? Who does the government? Why am there backbenchers? Government how Home Secretary there is? Parliamentary where Cabinet reshuffle opposition right honourable what?
Talking about a British
Britain
channel,
is a
right?
democracy, which means we, the people, decide how the country is run. But instead of squeezing 64 million people into the House of Commons, we have 650 people representing all of us. How are they choosed? The country has been carefully divided into 650 constituencies, each one containing roughly 70,000 voters. Every 5 years there's a general election. We put an X next to the roughly 7.
Look at that. How dense it is here. That many divisions, goddamn. That's London, I guess, huh?
70,000 voters. Every 5 years there's a general election. We put an X next to the person we like best, then the person with the most votes becomes our constituency's Member of Parliament, or MP. Now, even though technically anyone can put themselves up for election, and they often do, they're almost always a member of a political party. But what is a political party? Broadly speaking, it's a group of people that all feel the same way about how the country should be run. They have a party headquarters and a logo and a favourite colour. If you're a member of one of these parties, you're much more likely to get voted for because people know what you stand for. And political parties have got money to help with posters and leaflets and things. There's nothing in the rulebook that says there needs to be such thing as political parties. They've just naturally come about. In theory, you could have a parliament made up entirely of independent partyless MPs. It's just never happened, and they probably wouldn't agree on anything.
Damn.
So that's how the House of Commons gets its 650 MPs. And now this is where...
That's how it is in the most democracies, isn't it? That's how it is in India. Obviously, parties are there because it's easier that way. It's more, everything becomes more easier, even though it has a massive issues. Like, people has loyalty to their party more than the country, so it becomes a massive issue right there.
She comes in. The Queen politely asks one of the MPs to be her Prime Minister. This is a tradition that dates back to the years of King George I, who needed an advisor to help run the country because he only spoke German. Officially, the Queen can pick whomever she likes, but so far she's always gone for the leader of the party with the most MPs.
This is what I hate about monarchy right there. It's just, it's the blood, that's the, direct descendant, so has to be in charge, has to be a king. He doesn't even speak English, man, your country is English. It's in that country's name, England. So he has to hire somebody to translate. I mean, that's just stupid right there. This is why I hate monarchy.
The Prime Minister then chooses a crack team of his best friends to form the government, a small group of people who do the actual day-to-day running of Britain, as in coming up with new laws and deciding where to spend our money and deciding how to get our money, etc, etc. The Prime Minister's job is to decide who does what, swap them around every so often, and give them a massive f***ing if they f*** up. But the government can't do whatever it likes. It has to be kept in check and challenged on every decision it makes. That's mainly the job of the party that came second in the general election.
Opposition.
They're called the opposition. They pretend they've got government jobs and show you what they would have done if they'd won instead. Again, there's nothing in the rulebook about any opposition. In fact, the opposition wasn't mentioned in law at all until 1937, when they had to agree how much the leader of the opposition should be paid. So what about the rest?
I mean, yeah, it's one of those things like self-evident thing. It's just common sense. I mean, the party that loses obviously are going to be butthurt that they lost. So they're going to make everything they can to make sure the party in power doesn't go unchecked. Any mistake and they catch on it. And that's good for the people in the end. So opposition is in the end good. Sometimes, some party like in India, in election in India, Modi first time came to power in prime minister. He won with such a landslide that opposition didn't have enough seats to became opposition, so they had to band together with other parties to make a proper opposition party. So sometimes it's like if opposition is not in the book, and if you don't have enough people to become opposition, I guess there's not going to be any opposing party technically. So they have to band together to just make one. But yeah, opposition parties, I guess, is a good thing. In the end, it keeps the main government in check, I guess.
Rest of the MPs who don't get a job either in the government or the shadow cabinet, they've still got a very important job to do. They're called backbenchers because they sit on the back benches, which are at the back and are benches.
It's their job to represent us, the ordinary folk, in Parliament. And they do this by voting on things.
Every time someone comes up with a potential new law, known as a bill, our MPs argue about it for ages and ages and then decide aye or no in a vote.
The ayes to the right! 400!
They use the word aye instead of yes because they're pillocks.
In theory, the MPs
Bunch of pirates right there. Aye.
decide for themselves how to vote, but the slightly depressing news is they're normally told how to vote by the leader of their party.
Party leaders employ people literally called whips whose job it is to go around making threats and promises so that MPs vote as they're told. It's the only way you can get more than half of the room to vote the same way. It may seem like an insult to democracy, but
It is.
Actually, that's pretty hard to justify.
Once a bill gets
But that's not just case in England, man. That's the case in India. That's the case in USA. Like I said at the start of the video, allegiance to your party comes first to them rather than allegiance to the country. And obviously, that allegiance doesn't come like, yeah, I'm to this party, I'm gonna be loyal to the party. No, because they know there are lots of perks that are gonna come to their way. So people are going to promise lots of things, and so on and so on. So people are going to, if my party's leader is saying this, I'm gonna, just follow that. That's the thing with in USA. Trump had a lot of issues, but Republican Party was just, every single one was just defending him. Even the people whose whole core idea is just a few years ago was completely against whatever Trump did. But at the time they were defending Trump. Why? Because party's leader is like, we are defending Trump. So that's the biggest minus point of the democracy, is that, people start to form allegiance to the party rather than the country and the people they represent. That's the biggest issue.
Liked by the House of Commons, it gets handed on a piece of paper to the room next door, the House of Lords.
Oh, this is
but
awesome.
They're really weird and complicated, and I can't be bothered to talk about them right now, so they're a story for another time. Bills get sent.
I hope we talked about that, man. House of Lords is just weird, man. I like how people just dress up in all this like they are kings or something with the sticks in their hands, and the speaker is just whenever I've seen some clips of him, and whenever he talks, it's just funny. I don't know why, and I guess he's trying to be funny. I don't know what that is. The House of Lords is just awesome. Every time I see it, it's like some comedy sitcom or something.
Back and forth like an onion between the two houses until ultimately one person gets the final say on what becomes a law. Oh, go on then.
Isn't that insane that we actually live in a monarchy? It's 2000 and something, not 13 something.
Yeah, I mean, that is surprising. I didn't see that coming. But yeah, since he's the head of state, that makes sense. I mean, in the end, she has the final say. Obviously, she's not going to interfere in that, as, it would cause an uproar, like, she's going against the will of the people, apparently. So she's like, it passes, so I guess, but it's just formality. She's going to sign on it. But technically, she has power to say no to that. I mean, that's heavy.
Something.
Gradually over time, the Queen's role has become more and more ceremonial, and she does more and more nothing. Her powers still exist, and in theory, the Queen could veto any law she doesn't like.
But she knows full well that if she tries to exercise any of her theoretical power and defy the MPs that we, the people, voted for, there'll be an instant revolution and will set her palace on fire. It's easy to forget all of this. When there's an election on, the media make it feel like you're choosing a prime minister.
I mean, that does sound extreme, but what French did during that revolution, it's not that extreme, is it?
But you're not. And you're not choosing a party either. You're choosing a person, your local MP, who just happens to be a member of a party, who just happens to have a party leader. So, who's in charge of Britain? In an official sense, her. In a technical sense, him. In a practical sense, them. In an idealistic sense, us. But the real answer? Dunno.
Well, technically, real answer is this is how India's democracy work too. I think I'm pretty sure, unless there is a massive key points that I missed. This is how India's democracy work too. Obviously, you choose your local leader, whatever, and he chooses the party's leader. That's how it works technically. But in the end, people are in power because that's not some naive thing that I'm saying. Obviously, because people are in power for one particular reason. Obviously, prime minister and parties are going to make decisions that obviously favors them, or lots of decisions they are going to make, so they know that their people are going to be happy. Because if people are not happy, eventually elections will come, eventually people will be pissed, and the parties will change. So in the end, they have to make decisions. They know that people can be happy at certain extent. And obviously Queen's not going to do anything about it. Like, why would I angry people? I'm living fine. I'm living in a palace. I have an iPhone. I have tons of money. I like my Land Rover. And I don't want to see my palace burnt to a crisp. She's not going to do anything. Politicians are going to be corrupt, but in the end they have to work for people at a certain extent. Otherwise people will get pissed off and new party will come in. So in the end, people has power. Yeah, this kind of made sense. I mean, Queen's power is technically there, but it's just for show. And yeah, most of the things is the same as here in India. This makes sense. Alright people, if you like my reaction, don't forget to like and subscribe, and I'll see you next time.